This is a tutorial to make this signature here by me, Lord Pack. So, here we go. Right. First thing we need is our source, which in this case is this guy here. Now I need to cut him out just like the torso here, so we will take the magnetic lasso tool and just go around pretty roughly. It doesn't need to be precise. Sure, these isn't precise. And one thing that this magnetic lasso tool does is tell you select areas that are of a different contrast to other areas. So once you've got that selected, you're going to have some errors. It's not going to look so great. So go to quick mask mode here, this button here, and everything in red here is what you have not selected. So you want to go with the paintbrush. Just cover up the areas you do not want to be selected, and then with the eraser go around and uncover any areas. Opacity 100, brush size down, uncover any areas that you do want to be seen. Right, so once you've done all that, looks pretty good. Go back to normal mode. In fact, I just forgot a bit here. Alright, go back to normal mode and edit, copy. And go to your pre-prepared window here, 500 by 200 size. Edit, paste. Stay in scale. Don't really need to put the picture in any position that you want. I found it useful in the past to keep this as a sort of original that you copy everything else from. So just name this original and keep it there. Don't touch it because you need it. So duplicate layer and call it blurred clone. Because now we are going to turn the original off. Take the blurring ones and go blur, Gaussian blur. And we want to put it to about 5. And we want to duplicate these blurred layers until we've got about 5 of them. And move them around. You can flip them too. Move them around until you have until you've covered up pretty much most of the background with the Clone Trooper picture. Doesn't need to be perfect, doesn't need to be all of it, but that's the general idea. Now, one thing I do recommend is that when you have the original here, this is just an example, the original, you want the gun to be really visible in contrast against the background. So make sure that you place all these blurred bits so that there is a white light colour around the area where the gun is. And also down here where the text is going to be, you want to have a sort of light coloured area so the text shows up nicely. So that's good. Turn off the original, bring it back down. Now what we want to do is make a new layer, call it clone screen, and go to image, apply image, and this should all be default settings, nothing special. Click OK. Now what this does is take everything that's visible underneath this layer and put it into one layer here. So if I turn all these off, you still have that applied to this new layer. And we want to set this to screen and lower the opacity down to about 40%. I mean, all these values are just off the top of my head. They're not something concrete. It's free will after all. So now we have this sort of basic color map. This is what will give us our colors. So time to add some grunge. Make a new layer. Call it grunge, whatever. Make sure your colors are black and white. You can do this by pressing D or clicking this little button here, and select the brush tool and load up your favorite grunge brush set. There's a great collection of grunge brushes if you search for them on deviantart.com, and they're all free and they're easy to install, so I recommend that. Pick any brush out, you know, maybe start with the big one or something like that, and black or white, anyone will do. Just basically start shoveling on the grunge. What you want to do is get a nice sort of random pattern. Don't worry how thick the layer gets in terms of how many grunge brush marks you've put there, because it really doesn't matter. Oops. Go around filling it up with grunge. And also a good thing to do is take the razor tool, rubber tool, get a grunge brush and just erase bits using the grunge brush, and this will create even more grungy bits, and it's just to accentuate the randomness, really. You just want it to get as randomly grungy as you can. Now we want this layer to be overlay blending mode, and you'll see that we still have these checkered background here of the original thing, which indicates that there is transparency here, and we don't really want that. So with this still an overlay, take black or white tool, color, and brush tool, and just go around, fill up these areas. And also notice how the two different colors, black and white, both affect the layer underneath in grunge mode. You'll see that black sort of acts as a contraster, while white acts as a highlighter. It's very intriguing. You can have a lot of fun playing around with blending modes in Photoshop. So there's a little bit of checkered there, and also what you want to keep in mind is the same thing as before, that you do not want to have dark colors around here, and there where you want to have text. So go back to brush, switch to white, maybe just lighten it up there. Maybe not. Okay, so we sort of have that there. We want to duplicate the grunge layer. You can see this adds even more sort of contrast, but you're starting to lose focus of the blurred clone troopers underneath, so we want to set this to screen. I'll lower the opacity a bit. Whatever you feel like, really. And also we want to blur this layer, so go to blur, Gaussian blur, and set it to about 3. Again, it's just up to you. I mean, and then of course you can go back to it and add some more brushes if you want. Just add some more daubs of grunge here and there, if you so desire. Now, we are going to add in the actual main character, so to say. Actually, we don't need that new layer. Duplicate the original of the clone that we've kept aside. he's there. See how the gun's nicely highlighted against the white. We are now going to blend him in with the background. See how now he looks just a bit sort of out of place. First thing to do is duplicate this guy as well. And we're going to call this layer clone smudge. And we're going to take the smudge tool. Surprise, surprise. Reset brushes to bring it back to the default ones. Go down until you find a leafy sort of brush here. And you want to set the strength to about like 25%. And size until it looks quite like it'll fit around the edge quite nicely. About 38-40% pixel in diameter. And just go around the edge. Don't hold it down for too long, just like a click every now and then. In fact, that's a bit too strong. Set the strength to something like 15%. Lower the diameter to about 30. And let's try again. Go around the edge. Sort of leafing in this clone trooper here. Like he's been wandering around in the forest. So yeah, you can see that he's blending in pretty nicely, but starting to lose focus on him. So what we want to do now is take this original that we set aside and call it something like, I don't know, overlay, because that's what we're going to set a lay mode to. Overlay. See how overlay is a wonderful mode if you want to highlight things, bring things out. And now what we want to do is take the eraser tool, select a large soft brush, something like 65, set the opacity down to about 25%, and go around the edges of the overlay clone trooper layer. In fact, just bump up the opacity of the brush. Go around the edges so that you start to see just a bit of the leafed up clone underneath. Doesn't need to be perfect. I mean, if you look at it just by itself, he's hardly even there anymore. That's okay. That's that. Now we want to create a new layer. And again, apply image, apply image, default settings, and we can call this the spatter layer, because we now go filter, stylize, no wait, brush strokes, spatter. And what this does is gives you a nice sort of you left the painting in a shower sort of look, which is nice for some people, I guess, but it works for this. And you want to have the spray radius at 18 and smoothness at 8, and just go OK. You want to duplicate this, duplicate the spatter layer, turn off the duplicated one, and for this spatter, the original, take the eraser tool, you should still have it, same opacity, same everything, and just go around and rub out this layer, not all of it, just in general, rub out where the clone trooper is, so you can sort of see him. But as you can see now, we have a very good blend. He looks as if he belongs there. Sort of like he fits in, you know. And that's what the spatter layer is good for. So now that we have that, this spatter copy, we can have all sorts of fun. There are lots of like screen will brighten it up if you want. Overlay, of course, does a bit of contrast. So overlay's fun. Overlay's a lot of fun. Bring down the opacity to about 40, and liberally apply eraser where needed. Basically, you wanna actually erase a lot around the gun because you actually want to see some details on that. Sorry, that's someone on MSN logging on again. Yeah, you want to erase around the gun so you can see details. So this is almost done in terms of like the main picture. There's one little thing left, which is if you look at the original, you can see a sort of crisscross pattern here, like a sort of dot pattern here. And I did that by taking a brush and a grunge brush, setting the color to white, doesn't really matter, but just go over it. Yeah, I know it looks terrible, you're just defacing art now. But here's a clever thing. If you go to fill, take it down to 0, it will disappear. What the fill option does is only lets you see things that are applied in this layer style window. So what we want to do is apply a pattern overlay, and well, in this case I've got some scan lines handy. I haven't got the other one handy. You can custom make it by making a file new 4x4 pixel. Two of the pixels are black, 2 of the pixels are white, and you save it as a pattern. I'll cover that in another tutorial. But for now I've got the scan lines and it looks fun, so what the heck, we'll go with that. We can adjust the opacity of the layer. So yeah, the useful thing about fill is that you don't see all the white grunge, you only see what's being applied to it, which is the scan. And also, if you take the eraser and take a grungy eraser, you can erase bits of the white grunge, and since the scan lines only appear where the white grunge is, you can erase the white grunge. You can erase the scan lines from where you want them to be. I find that quite cool. Or you can just lower the opacity or whatever. So we have something like this. If I lower the opacity to about 52%, changing the layer mode doesn't do anything. Okay, so call this scan lines. That's basically the bottom, like the picture done. Now what we want to apply to this is some text. So, in fact we don't need a new layer. Take the text tool and go down here to the bottom and type in name or whatever. Get a cool font too. I have some auto-grunged fonts here, but it takes away the point of grunging it myself, so highlight the text and pick a nice sort of colour that goes with the theme of the SIG. So I'm going to go with a cobalt blue, like that. In fact, a little bit darker. A little bit that way. Okay. And just move it into where you want. Now don't forget you created this sort of whitey light area for a reason, so that you can contrast it better, so you can see the text. So now what we want to do is duplicate this and rasterize this. What rasterization does is take it from a text layer, as in I can't go back and change the words anymore, I can't type anything in. But now I can do things like take the smudge tool, which is still on the leaf thing, bump up the strength, and turn off the copy layer I. And to this rasterized text layer, just go wild with some smudge layer. In fact, that's a bit too wild. Undo that. Turn down the strength a bit. And just sort of grunge it up. Also what you can do is take the eraser with a grunge brush at low opacity and sort of click on that a bit. Okay, we have that, and now we have the original text, which we set to, guess what, overlay. And, okay, you can sort of see that, but you need it a bit more, so duplicate this text layer here. You can see that better now. And if you want, you can go to blending options. Stroke is a good thing to highlight your text. And I like to set it to black, just because it brings it out. In fact, in this case, I don't think I will. It's fine like that. So that's your text. Looks vaguely similar. I think the font matters quite a bit. Yeah. So now what we want to do is put on the border, and we're done. So, new layer, call it border as usual, and take the magic wand tool and click anywhere on the SIG, and it'll select all of this, because for the magic wand tool there's nothing on the SIG, so this layer, so it will select all of it. And go to edit stroke. You want it a 3 pixel stroke with white color. That's that. And make sure you deselect now. And go into blending options and have some fun. But what I tend to do is do a drop shadow. Just decrease it a little bit. Then an inner shadow. Something like that. And a key thing is you want this on overlay. And then as a final touch, I add a stroke of 1 pixel outside and black, and of opacity about 50. And by adding a drop shadow and an inner shadow, we've achieved this sort of Michael MC Escher sort of style, where down here you can see the main bit of the SIG dropping a shadow on the border, while up here the border drops a shadow on the SIG. So just to really freak people out, you know, it works a treat. Then also what I tend to do is, down here there's this little semicircle circle with half black, half white on them. And if you click that, you get a whole bunch of modifiers. And I will select a curve layer. This creates a new curves layer. And fiddle around with this, see what it does. It's a lot of fun. See what it does to the SIG. Increases contrast, decreases brightness. You can change the channels. You can modify just to red channels, which there aren't a lot of, so it doesn't really do much. Well, sort of. See, like, if you got RGB, this sort of pattern, this sort of swirl, increase the contrast a lot. So there you go. That's how to make this signature vaguely. It's good enough. You don't exactly remember techniques after a year, but that should do you. And look for more tutorials in the future.